What's going on, guys? Dawkbro back again. Hope you're fantastic today, and welcome back to another book review on Five Nights at Freddy's Fazbear Frights number 5, Bunny Call. And the next story in this book is In the Flesh, okay? So In the Flesh is the shortest story out of all of them. You can see it's right in the middle there. See that? See the two black lines? So it's pretty short compared to the other two, and I enjoyed it, actually. I thought it was a pretty cool story. I know a few people was a bit weirded out by it with what happens in the story. I completely understand. But, you know, I've watched a lot of horror films. I'm a hardcore horror fan. Compared this story to, like, Saw and stuff, you know, I don't think it's that bad, in my personal opinion. But I can understand why some people are weirded out by it. But, you know, it is a horror franchise, guys. We're going to get some weird ones. You know, like Ennard being in somebody's body and cutting his stomach open, or you know, a child murderer. Do you know what I mean? So I thought it was pretty good. I didn't think it was that bad. Had some connections with like FNAF VR and Glitch Trap and stuff like that, which is pretty cool. It was nice and short. Didn't waffle on with random stuff, and it was good. So yeah, I'll probably give this about an 8 or a 9, honestly. By the way, guys, I'm in my pajamas again, because I'm not very well today. I'm forcing myself to make this video, because I don't like letting you guys down. But yeah, In the Flesh was pretty good. If you guys want a little bit of non-spoiler territory, it's about a man who makes a video game. A FNAF video game called Springtrap's Revenge. The game gets all crazy and, you know, there's a virus and stuff, and bad things happen to Matt, the main character, and the virus comes out of the game. Okay, that's all I'm going to say for non-spoiler territory. But, you know, most people who watch these summaries don't care anyway. You know, they're not just going to watch the start. They usually want to see the full summary. So, yeah. Let's get straight into it, guys. So, like I said, Matt is the main character of today's story, In the Flesh, and he's a game developer. And throughout all of his life, he's made games, okay? Sort of got a connection with Scott there, because Scott has made games all of his life too. Before FNAF, he was making a bunch of games. So I had like a little connection with Scott there. And he's making a game called Springtrap's Revenge. And interestingly, it's a VR game. Okay, it's a VR game. FNAF VR, Glitch Trap, got a connection with that. And it's called Springtrap's Revenge, which is really interesting. So the book universe know about Springtrap. Little rumours and stuff, instead of being like, yeah, Springtrap is real. Then again, it's like a myth, right, with Springtrap. I can see that, actually. I can see it being like a spooky campfire story about Springtrap, right? And not something that was on the news or something like that. Yeah, I can see that, and that's why, you know, the company's like, oh, they're all just rumours, you know, child murders, all just rumours, and Springtrap's a rumour as well. So I can see that, actually. So yeah, the game's called Springtrap's Revenge, and it's the next instalment of the popular FNAF series. So there have already been FNAF games made in the book universe before Springtrap's Revenge, which I thought was really interesting. And again, it goes back to FNAF VR when they talk about a rogue indie developer making games and stuff. Yeah, I don't know my thoughts on that, actually, guys. Seriously, a game within a game within a game within a game, right? It's a bit confusing to me, having like a bunch of FNAF games in the FNAF universe. I get it, I totally get it, but you know, I got a bit worried about, you know, FNAF 1, 2, 3, Sister Location, and like I was getting a bit weirded out a little bit that the fact that the games that we play are actually games in the FNAF universe, if that makes sense. So I hope not. I only hope FNAF VR is the actual game in the game universe, in the FNAF universe. In the book universe, apparently there's a bunch of games being made, but yeah. What I liked about this story as well, guys, is that you can see that Matt goes back into the game, and we get his perspective of things, which is really nice. So he puts the headset on and we get his perspective of things, which was really, really, really nice to see. So yeah, it's a very small game, actually. It's just a maze game in VR. So it's basically, there's a big dark hallway in the maze and you have to pick what doors to open. Kind of like the pizza party minigame in FNAF VR, where you open doors and it takes you to other places, or you might get jump scared by a spring trap. There was a wall on either side of him. These walls formed the dark hallway that was the entrance to the maze. At this point, Matt could only see down the hall straight ahead. No entrances to the left or right were visible yet. Just as he was about to move forward, he saw his creation and his adversary, a large green rabbit, appear at the end of the hall and then exit to the left. Just because it was a rabbit didn't mean it was cute. Matt had always found humans in rabbit costumes creepy, as was evidenced by an old picture his mum had taken of him when he was 3 years old, screaming bloody murder on the lap of a blankly grinning Easter bunny at the mall. So, not the Spring Bonnie. Springtrap, the rabbit in the game, was even scarier than the uncanny valley-dwelling mall Easter bunny. Its costume was so tattered that some of its mechanical parts were visible beneath the fabric, and the better part of one ear was missing. Its eyes were evil orbs that glowed green when it spotted its prey, and its grin was wide and ghastly. It was definitely nightmare fuel, which was absolutely what Matt had intended for it to be. Matt was especially proud of his titular character. He wanted to make Springtrap the kind of horrifying character who would endure, who would visit people's nightmares for generations to come. From Dracula to Hannibal Lecter, there was a kind of immortality in a truly horrifying creation, and somehow a bit of this immortality touched the creator as well. Matt had done an exhaustive amount of research in developing the murderous rabbit. He had watched dozens of classic horror movies, studying the personalities of the cold-blooded killers. He read books and articles on serial killers about how their appetite for violence could only be stated for a little while, until they had to choose another victim. Basically, Matt created Springtrap. It doesn't look like he knows about Springtrap at all, which is really, really weird. Yeah, throughout reading this book, guys, there's no talk about what Springtrap is. About Springtrap's past, if that makes sense. He just talks about how he made a killer bunny called Springtrap. It's very confusing. In my opinion, I think that's quite confusing. I wish it stated like, yeah, so I created Springtrap in the game because of the original murderer and, you know, how he got trapped in a suit. It doesn't talk about that at all, which is really weird. So it said a lot that Springtrap was the child of Matt's rage. Okay, so Matt in real life, very angry, his life's not going that well, you know, so he puts all of his emotions and rage into creating Springtrap. So you can see where this is going, right? You know, Springtrap's rage, so Matt's rage got put into the game and put into Springtrap, okay? When Matt's going through the maze and stuff, he keeps dying to Springtrap. Like, he keeps trying to, you know, play the game, and Springtrap keeps killing him. And you get like a third person's perspective of Matt's body on the floor, and you see Springtrap cut off his ear, like, you know, a serial killer trophy, right? Like, you know, Jason or stuff like that. Killers, and they cut off an ear and stuff or something. Springtrap does that in the game, and yeah, it's really weird to see Springtrap do that, in my opinion. Again, it's just a game, obviously, but yeah, Springtrap cuts off Matt's ear in game with game over, and he like laughs at the camera and stuff, and it's very weird, to be honest. But again, guys, it's just a game, okay? Matt has some issues, man. When Matt lost to Springtrap, he gets really, really angry. You know, he's losing to his creation, right? So he throws stuff around the office and gets really angry. Matt is a bit of a nasty person in the story throughout the story. Very shallow. So Matt was married to a girl. And they were having a good marriage, but it started to get boring and repetitive, according to Matt, and he didn't want kids. Okay, so Matt didn't want kids, but his wife did, and Matt's excuse was pregnancy and motherhood would ruin his wife's figure. So very, very shallow, very selfish, doesn't think about what he says. Okay. And then he got divorced. So they both got divorced, and then he just had a string of relationships apparently. And with all of that rage and stress from all of that, he put that rage into creating Springtrap. Okay? So he goes back into the VR game, guys. He sees Springtrap, gets jump scared again, and it cuts Matt's throat. But what's weird about it is that the VR game seems so real that Matt feels it happen. Not the pain, but it's like he can feel it, which is really weird. And Springtrap licks the blade, apparently. He licks the blade and starts laughing with his shoulders shaking with the game over screen. So yeah, and Matt thinks that that Springtrap is laughing at Matt and not in the game. He thinks that Springtrap's actually laughing at Matt in real life. So yeah, it gets really angry again. Very, very angry. So Matt's like, I'm the ruler of this game. I made this game. I created you. And he likes having control, okay? And it's interesting, right? Because Matt can torture Springtrap in this game. It's just a game, right? So Matt can program Springtrap to just wander around the maze for hours on end, just doing nothing and being lonely and being alone. Obviously, it's just a game, right? It's like if I made a game and, I put one of the AIs to, jump off a cliff. I don't know. It's just a game. They're not real, right? So I can, I get why Matt's like, yeah, well, here you go, Springtrap. This is what you get for jump scaring me all the time. It's just a game. So I feel like that it is a little bit weird, to be fair, but I kind of get it at the same time. So yeah, he programmed the game such that Springtrap was doomed to wander the maze alone all night, with no victims to stalk and no way out. He also sped up the game's time frame by 1,000, so that for each minute that passed in real time, 1,000 minutes passed for Springtrap. And then Matt starts laughing like, haha, that's what you get, Springtrap. So yeah, you can kind of see where this is going, right? Just need to remind you guys again that the FNAF craze is very, very prominent throughout this story. So Matt's boss talks about how the game's going. He's working in a company, guys. I don't know whether they're all making FNAF games or they're all making separate games each, but Matt's just focusing on Springtrap's Revenge, and he's working in a team of people, but he's the only one working on it apparently. So I don't know whether this company is working on loads of different games. For example, maybe like Steelwool. Steelwool worked on FNAF VR, but they've also worked on other games before. But yeah, the FNAF craze is big in this universe, okay? Jason's, the kids are going to love it. Do you know what I mean? So yeah, it's weird to talk about it like that, right? That the FNAF games are popular in the FNAF universe as well. Just some filler, guys. He has a roommate called Jason, and they both live with each other. And Jason's more of like a slob, where he just sits at home and eats junk food and plays games and stuff. And that's basically it. It's just filler. Just to give Matt some more character. You'll see later on why he's nasty. The next day, he goes back to work. And he puts on the VR headset. Remember the day before, he tortured Springtrap, made him wander the maze for years, okay? And Springtrap's not there. So he puts the headset on, and Springtrap's vanished. Matt walked down the maze for a long time, but there was no sign of Springtrap. No jump scares, no sneaking up behind him, no quick glimpses of the rabbit at the end of the hall. It was strange. The way the game was programmed, he should have seen Springtrap by now. Matt took off his headset and opened the game's data log. For several in-game days, Springtrap had wandered around the perimeters of the maze, looking for someone to kill. This is what Matt had expected, but he hadn't expected what he saw next. After all those days with no one to kill, when killing was his life's only purpose, Springtrap seemed to spawn a new version of himself. Immediately, the new version killed the old version, and then the current Springtrap would somehow produce a newer version, which would then kill it. The cycle went on and on and on. A new creation of the AI, followed by newly created ones destroying the creator. So what kept going, guys, is Springtrap cloned himself, and that clone killed the old Springtrap. Clone, kill, clone, kill, clone, kill, clone, kill, clone, kill, clone, kill. Constantly, rapid. Every second, a new clone would kept being made. Slashings, stabbings, decapitations. So yeah, lots of just deaths over and over. So very, very weird and spooky, right? And eventually, guys, Springtrap just vanished. So it kept going on and on and on and on and on. That Springtrap just poofed from the game code, apparently. Matt looked everywhere in the game code. There's no sign of Springtrap anywhere. Matt finally found Springtrap's programming. It was fractured, splintered, and unrecognisable. Okay? Scattered into little tiny pieces, which again reminded me of Glitch Trap, because Glitch Trap was scattered into little pieces, right? Hidden in the tapes. So yeah, interesting. And it couldn't get Springtrap's programming back. It was completely broken, and he tried to start over, and again, it just wasn't working. So Springtrap literally just destroyed the whole game. Okay, it just broke the whole game down. Goes back in the game again to look around for Springtrap one more time. Matt's avatar ran around the maze looking for signs of Springtrap. He turned a corner and caught sight of something green up ahead. Springtrap's lifeless body lay around the maze's next bend. It was splayed on its back, with its torso split wide open. Matt kneeled for a closer look. Springs and gears protruded from the edge of the gaping wound. How could something so mechanical manage to look so dead? Springtrap's blank, sightless stare was horrible to behold. Matt reached up to the rabbit's eyelids to close them. As soon as he made physical contact, Matt felt a sharp sting, combined with a mild electrical jolt that reminded him of the pain of getting his fraternity letters tattooed on his ankle in college. He pulled the avatar's hand away. So, very interesting, right? So, yeah. Matt went back into the game, saw Springtrap dead on the floor, touched Springtrap, and he got a shock. Okay, he got an electric jolt from Springtrap in-game, which is really weird, right? Really, really weird. So yeah, guys, I'm getting very Glitch Trap vibes from this, right? I know it's not Glitch Trap, but, you know, some connection, in my opinion. VR game, virus, touches the virus, and he gets electrocuted. So, yeah, let's carry on. So, some more filler, guys. A lot of filler. So, Matt goes on dates, and he's very, very, very horrible. So, Jason and Matt go on a double date, and Matt doesn't like the girl who he's with. He liked the other girl. So, behind Jason's back, Matt offers his number to her and stuff. It's sucky. Matt's just talking about himself all the time, talking about how he's got money and stuff, and very big-headed. But yeah, just a lot of filler. Basically, just stuff that, like, later on you're like, okay, Matt kind of deserved the consequences, right? He's not a very nice person. He's not a very nice person. The next morning, Matt wakes up and feels very sick. Okay, this is the day after he touches Springtrap. He's very, very sick, doesn't want to eat anything. He throws up, very sweaty, but he has to fix the game. The deadline's in 2 weeks and the game's completely broken. So, you know, Matt's very, very stressed, okay? He also has stomach pain as well, which you'll understand later on. No success fixing the game. So he goes back to work. He can't fix it, guys. It's done. He even says Springtrap's won. He's completely destroyed the game. And the deadline is looming, guys. Only 2 weeks to go, and Matt's basically got to do the game all over again. So he went to a game store and he got like this 80s video maze game, and he was like, "Oh, I'll just steal this game and put Springtrap in it." So yeah, but okay, Matt. Good luck with that. Yeah, and he says he's learned his lesson not to annoy Springtrap again. I'm never going to annoy Springtrap again. He's just broke the whole game. So yeah, it's looking okay, apart from the stomach pain and stuff. Bit weird, but you know, for now, he's just stressed out. Now, this is what I thought was really, really interesting, guys. It cuts off to somebody called Gene. A character called Gene, okay, steals a copy of the game. So he hacks into Matt's computer and he steals an early copy of Springtrap's Revenge, okay? And he goes into the game as well, and he sees Springtrap on the floor again, lying on the floor, okay? So, yeah, nothing happens. Gene doesn't touch Springtrap. Would be interesting if he did and see if he got the shock as well, but he doesn't. But it's very strange why Scott included that part, right? That somebody hacked into Matt's computer and got an early copy of Springtrap's Revenge. I thought that could be a link with FNAF VR, right? With Vanessa. So maybe Vanny stole a copy of FNAF VR to rescue Glitchtrap or something like that. Have a think about that, because it is interesting. That's included. It's randomly included that Gene gets the game early, hacks the game and gets it early. And that's literally it, guys. That's all we get. I think it's just to show that it's the same game. But like, Springtrap didn't do anything at that point to Gene, so maybe it can only infect just Matt, just one person. It can't just spread to everybody. I don't know. But yeah, very interesting detail. It did really make me think of FNAF VR, Vanessa or somebody else stealing the game or something like that to rescue Glitchtrap. So yeah, have a think about that. What's interesting after that, guys, is he looks into the commands of the game, okay? And it said, according to the code, Springtrap had been extracted from the very game that bore his name in the title. The program that initiated the extraction was called itsaboy.exe. Okay? That will make sense later on. But Springtrap's entity has been extracted from the game into Matt. Okay? That's what I thought when I saw that. Matt goes on another date, guys, okay? On the evening, and he's very hungry. He starts eating meat, lots of meat. Very, very hungry. Okay, you can see where this is going, right? Very, very, very hungry. A bottomless hunger, so he keeps eating. His belly is bigger now as well. He's got a bigger belly. He throws up. He just thinks it's a virus, that he's ill and he's sick. It's a different virus. But, you know, it doesn't go to the doctors, ironically, like every FNAF character does. They don't go to the doctors. Okay? So, he does release the game, guys. So, like I said, Matt stole an 80s game and put Springtrap in it. And, you know, the game did get released like that. And the reviews were very mixed, okay? Very mixed. Springtrap's AI design is very sloppy, according to the reviewers. So, he didn't have time to rebuild Springtrap again, did he? So, and his boss comes in and he's very angry, and for some reason Matt takes his anger out at his boss, man. Matt is very bad. Starts getting angry at his boss, and he storms home. So yeah, guys, that new Springtrap that was made into the game that was released is fine. Okay, there's no problem with him. It's just a bad AI, very sloppy designed, right? It hasn't got a virus or anything. But yeah, mixed reviews, guys. Not up to the usual game standards, which I thought was interesting. Just goes to show that further proof that more games have been made before Springtrap's Revenge, okay? And it made me think of FNAF 3 as well, because I swear people were unhappy with FNAF 3 because of Springtrap's AI being too easy or something like that, or weird. I can't remember. But yeah, I thought that was a nice connection with FNAF 3. Matt goes back home and Jason moves out, okay? Jason moves out because Matt's a real, pain and he's horrible. So Jason moves out and Matt blames Springtrap. Springtrap's ruined my life. Just blame Springtrap. Matt gets worse, so his belly is now even bigger, okay? And he's got a lump on his scalp as well, which I thought was interesting. I don't understand that. He got a lump on his scalp, on his head, like pushing on his head, which is weird. I don't know whether that happens when you're pregnant or whatever. I don't know. But now, guys, Matt is in serious trouble now. So his skin starts turning yellow. His hair starts to get thinner. Things are getting bad for him now, okay? Again, he's on another date with somebody. Very, very shallow again. Very horrible to the girl. Calling her fat and stuff. Very, very bad. He goes, okay, Emma, I'm sure you have a great personality, but when you post a picture of yourself on a dating site, it needs to look like you, not you 25 pounds ago. So, yeah, Matt is horrible. Very, very rude. And then he gets up and he leaves the date. He's got a really bad stomach ache now, so he goes home. And his stomach's getting really big, so big that his shirt pops open, and it makes the girl laugh because he literally just called her fat, and his shirt buttons are popping because of his belly. Let me read this to you guys. So he goes back home to his apartment. Okay, the pressure in his stomach was getting worse, and the weird knot on his head was hurting where it was stretching the skin of his scalp. Maybe he had some medicine that might help him. He went to the kitchen, chewed up a couple of antacid tablets, and drank a glass of water. He waited for relief, but it didn't come. Instead, the pressure increased. Even the soft t-shirt he was wearing felt irritating. He took it off and looked down at his watermelon-shaped belly. The pressure from inside was pounding, pummeling. He looked at the skin of his belly. There was movement underneath. When he felt the pounding, a faint imprint of an indeterminate shape showed up on his skin. Matt stifled a scream as he realised the truth. Something was inside him, and it was trying to get out. The painful pounding began to become more insistent, a drumbeat of agony. Agony. If it was out of him, whatever it was, the pain would stop. Get it out, he thought as he squeezed his eyes shut and clenched his jaw. He grabbed his discarded t-shirt and bit down on the fabric just to have some kind of outlet for the pain. If he got it out, the pain would stop. But how? There was no place for it to go. Another surge of pain hit him, this one crushing. He doubled over and grabbed the kitchen counter for support. His gaze turned to the kitchen knives hanging on a magnetic strip on the wall. He could cut it out. Cutting would relieve the pressure and whatever it was out. He would be free of whatever this burden was. He wanted to be free. He grabbed the largest, sharpest kitchen knife and lay on his back on the floor. Starting the incision was the hardest part, but the pain inside him was greater than any pain he could cause himself. He sank the knife's tip into the top of his abdomen and then drew the blade downward, biting down on the t-shirt so the neighbours wouldn't hear his scream. There was pain, but there was also relief. The pressure stopped, the blood flowed, and Matt saw, emerging from the incision, one long green rabbit ear. The whole rabbit emerged, wet and slimy with mucus. A perfectly formed Springtrap, the size of a healthy newborn infant. But unlike a newborn infant, the rabbit could pull itself out of the incision, land in a kneeling position of the kitchen floor, and then rise to stand. The blood loss was making Matt fade in and out of consciousness, but even in the addled state, he could see that the creature he had spawned was Springtrap, but somehow not Springtrap. This one was realer, more organic than the one in the video game. Matt's mind drifted back to a story his mom had read to him when he was little about a stuffed toy rabbit that he wished so hard to be real that it became real. The Springtrap that stood over Matt's bleeding body was not an amalgamation of the code that somebody like him had programmed into a computer. This Springtrap was real. The green rabbit sat down on the floor beside Matt and rested Matt's head in its furry lap. It felt nice. Matt was losing so much blood. Could a person lose this much blood and still stay alive? The rabbit stroked Matt's cheek. Matt didn't know if he heard the word come out of the rabbit's mouth or it was in his head. Daddy. So yeah, guys, Matt cuts open his stomach. Springtrap comes out of the stomach, pulls his skin open and gets out while Matt's cuts it open. In and out of, consciousness, Matt has his head on Springtrap's lap and Springtrap stroking his cheek, saying daddy. Really, really weird. Really, really strange. It is very disturbing, to be fair. So yeah. Jason goes into the apartment, guys, finds the body, pool of blood everywhere. Baby Springtrap is gone. Okay, there's no sign of baby Springtrap anywhere. The only evidence that he was there is that the detective sees some green fur next to the body. Okay, and that ends it like that. Okay, so there's a bit of green fur next to Matt's body, which shows that Springtrap was there. And he did come out of the stomach, and it was real. Okay? And that's in the flesh, guys. That's it. What do you guys think? I can understand why people are disturbed by it, but it just reminded me of Alien. If any of you guys have watched the film Alien, when the baby alien, comes out of the stomach, it reminded me of that. I don't think it was that bad. And I don't like Matt. Matt isn't technically pregnant, guys. I've seen a lot of people on Twitter and stuff saying, oh, Matt's pregnant. I don't see it that way. I see it like, a virus is inside of him and, the virus has grown in his stomach. That's what I think. It's not it's like an alien pregnancy thing. Virus got in his stomach and is grown inside of him. It is very weird. It is very weird. I completely understand where you guys are coming from because it is weird. But I don't think it's that bad. It's very sci-fi, alien, weird. I think this is like the weirdest one out of all of the stories. I'll admit that. It's very out there. Freaking virus from a game grew in his stomach and it ripped open his stomach. I totally get it. A baby Springtrap as well, like a little mini Springtrap. The more I think about it, it is weird, to be fair. What I mean by I don't think it's weird is that I don't think the story's weird, okay? But I do think it's weird in the FNAF universe, is what I'm trying to say. I don't think it's that bad as its own story, but in the FNAF universe, it's very, very out there and weird. I do have to say that it is out there. Any lore to talk about the story is that I got a lot of vibes from FNAF VR and Glitchtrap, and the fact that Glitchtrap can get out of the game as its own virus and be in somebody's body, not the stomach thing, more of like the mind. So yeah, I can see a lot of connections with FNAF VR and Glitchtrap being able to come out of the game into somebody's body. Okay. Other than that, it's a very simple story. Again, it's like Bunny Call. It was very short, but a lot of cool stuff, right? But again, I got to admit, I am a little bit weirded out by the whole. I would have liked it more if Springtrap like possessed Matt's brain rather than the whole stomach thing. But you know, it reminded me of like classic, you know, alien horror. But yeah, it wasn't too bad. And that's all I've got to say, guys, honestly. There's not really much else to talk about. Just links with FNAF VR and Glitch Trap. And just the whole pregnancy thing was a little bit weird for the FNAF universe, I'll admit that. But it still wasn't too bad, in my opinion. So, yeah, I don't really get it. Also, with this story, it doesn't seem like Springtrap exists in this book universe, by the looks of things, in my opinion. Seems like Springtrap was something that he made himself. There's no talk about any lore about Springtrap or anything. So I don't think in this book universe, guys, Springtrap exists. I don't know. It's a weird one. You guys can have a think about it, please, in the comment section and let me know your thoughts on the whole story. Okay? But that's it, guys. A shorter one today because it was a shorter story. And I'm ill, so I'm dying. Thank you so much for watching, guys. Leave a like if you enjoyed. Sorry if this summary was a little bit rushed or all over the place, just like the story. Not rushed, I meant just like all over the place with, you know, Springtrap, baby. Springtrap, man. Jesus. Lots of love. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you all next time. Baby Springtrap. Oh, God.